Okay, so we're back on the chair. I'm just settling, noticing how you feel. Myself organized. So in our penultimate of this batch of 6. Hard to believe this is the 5th one. Okay. So just planting the hands, let's do that on the fronts of the legs and start with a little bit of movement. Starting with a little bit of, I tell you what, let's just think of the hips and let's just think of like moving towards the belly button, to the hips towards the kind of belly button or the tailbone. Let's think of the tailbone. Moving that to tucking it under you towards the belly button is like 12. And then thinking about heading that tailbone behind you is 6. Okay. So we're just going to start with a tiny little movement, almost thinking that you're literally, it's a 10p piece, that's the kind of width of the movement you're making. So it's really, really subtle. No one can see you're even moving, but you can feel it inside. You're moving between 12 and 6. And see what's happening with the breath as you do that. I feel I've been working before this class and my breath feels quite kind of speedy. So I'm going to focus on just taking a bit of calming time. Wanting things of me. So nice to take some time out. Just feeling that gentle movement. Maybe you're exploring it a bit wider. Please feel free to take it a little bit further without finding any edges of discomfort. We're not heading there. Keeping it comfortable, pleasurable, easeful. Good. And let's bring that back to a stable point. Okay, and we're going to just work gently. Same thing, but around the kind of the sort of it's called the xiphoid process. It's like a little bit that comes down, you know, where the rib cage meets in the front there, and there's a little sort of, some people can feel it, a little sort of knobble that kind of goes a little further down. I can't feel it, but I know it's there because it's a little painful. Okay. And it can get a little tight. So we're just going to work from that bit. So imagining that is like the curve of the tailbone. It's not, it's just a little straight bit. And we're going to do that again, 6 and 12. So you can see it's like we're moving around the diaphragm. Okay. With this one, we're going to add in a sec 3 and 9. And we're going to take it around. So rather than moving, shifting side to side, we're going to take it back to 12. And doesn't matter which way 1 o'clock is for you, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just gently moving that xiphoid process, that little area at the front there, around. So it doesn't have to be a big movement at all. Let's go back the other way. Let's go from 12 to 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12. Now take any further exploration of those movements. If you just want to go back to 12 and 6, or you want to do a nice clock face, but visualizing that movement, that's not a great big uncontrolled movement in both directions. That's up to you. And let's see how the breath connects in to that. Okay. And let's bring that. Take your last round, whatever it is you're doing, don't hurry it. And bring it back to center. Okay. I'm going to have the hands flat on the floor, flat on the legs. And we're just going to open the palms. So backs of the hands go to the legs. And then the palms of the hands go to the legs. Just take a little bit of movement. So what I'm doing is I'm letting my little finger come to the edge of the leg as I open the hand, so that I get a little bit of movement, a little bit of opening through the shoulder. And when you're lying in bed, this is a really nice, these exercises are really nice to take, particularly because if you're lying on the floor, you do get a little bit more opening through the chest, but you can still feel it here. Perhaps you can attach the breath to this movement. Okay, so this is a challenge, getting everything working together. Can you find 6 and 12 with the tailbone as you do this? So can you perhaps attach one movement to each breath? And then can you switch the other way? So you might have attached the tuck under to the open. Can you now attach the heading away to the open? Or vice versa? Again, firing up those neural pathways. A little bit of coordination. Let's not overthink it. And then bring that all the way to finish your last round. Back to center. And now we're going to take it to the soft palate. So if you want to sort of touch the soft palate and find out where it is, just at the back of the roof of the mouth. So we're going to think about sliding kind of from the roof of the mouth, almost like you're taking the roof of the mouth forwards just a little bit. So you kind of, if you think about the roof of the mouth sort of almost being at the front of the face, so it stops you seeing your knees. But obviously it doesn't, but just visualizing that sense of that's where it's got to. So you can't actually see your knees. So you've got to have tucked under quite a lot. And then we're going to take it back. So obviously don't take a big movement if this isn't good for the neck. So then you're just going to take it back so that the soft palate, it's a tiny little tilt upwards and backwards. It's not all the way back behind you. And then again. Almost like the soft palate just comes in front of the eyes. So it's kind of a lift and a gentle move forward. It's not folding the head over too much. And then upwards and gently backwards. And I was in a class the other day. We were doing these lovely movements like this. And she's a great teacher. I'd really recommend her. She's in New Zealand, so it's just the best thing that she now does everything on Zoom. I don't have to fly to Spain to meet her or anything like that, or read her books. But it was really interesting because she was talking about these movements as being the movements that if you go to like an osteopath or a cranial osteopath, these are the movements that they do to you while you're lying quite passively. So I can't remember the term she used for them, I probably should. But she was wondering how we could do these movements for ourselves without too much effort, but we got the same effect. And I thought these were really interesting movements. And she's got a point there because, you know, we're not overstretching. Sometimes when we do it for ourselves, we've got to neck one way and then neck the other way and getting a really big stretch. These are just little flossing movements that bring ease back into tightness. Okay, let's bring that back to center and let's go to the crown of the head. And so the crown of the head, that lovely space at the top, the Sahasrara chakra, all those lovely energies. Okay, we're going to think about that And we're just going to take that very tilted towards 12 and very slightly tilted back towards 6. And as you know, we're just going to go forward and back slightly here. Using the crown of the head just to kind of draw a little 10p piece diameter line on the ceiling with the crown of the head. And then we're going to take that 10p piece diameter circle from 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And back the other way. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12. And back to center. Take a few more if you like those. Little tiny sliding diameter of a 10p piece, the crown of the head. Forward, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So it's not a big movement. And if you like those little 10p diameter circles, explore that. Both directions, anything that works. If it needs to move to a 50p. Keep that awareness that you're moving from the crown. You haven't taken it down to the neck. And breathe that. When you've done that last circle, bring that back to the center. And just notice your breathing now. Good. Nice little exercises. Noticing how the neck feels. Let's slide the, take a little side bend, slide the right hand down the chair. Now, if you, if it's too much for your arms, take it up to the side. Just have it, down the side of you. It's totally up to you. So it's either going up to the sky, just taking a little lean across, and you don't have to have the arm up. And then back up. And then the other side, take it up. Little lean across. And all the way back to center. And we'll start our rotations with picking the cherries off the tree. Lovely movement. 5 on each side. Apricots, cherries. Yeah. Apples, pears, plums. Good. Really take your time and enjoy the movements. And when you've done your 5, move to the other side. And moving with the breath, remember, trying not to hold the breath as you go. Just settle again, and then let's roll those shoulders all the way around a couple of times. And then a couple of times back the other way. Good. Let's bring that all the way back to the center. Plant the feet. Let's come forward. Let's come up to standing. Okay, so let's plant those feet, whether you're on your mat or off the mat. And then we're just going to start with a little bit of finding the feet underneath you, finding the ground so it's, you know, it's supporting you. And we'll start with a little bit of foot movement. So imagine you've got, you know, you're a cat and you're, you know how they do, they you can purr as well if you like, no one can hear you. And you can, you know, get that kneading sense with your feet. So you're starting to use and move some of those nice ligaments, muscles, sinews in the feet. Good. Bring that back to center. And let's slowly lift up off the heels onto the toes. And then roll your feet down to the floor and lift up the toes and spread them out. Just get that sensation. I know it's really hard to spread them out. Just get that sense of spreading. And then roll back over, lift up the heels, and roll it slowly down and lift up the toes and spread. And last time, roll onto the feet, lift it up, roll it down, and lift the toes, spread. And roll. Soften those knees, and let's take it around. So get a nice little swimmer clap going. You can move the feet, you can move the head. Try and keep the eyes on the horizon as you go. See if that feels comfortable. If you've got something going on in the neck, just be aware. You can even turn the neck a little bit more if you want. Turn, you know, follow the nose if that feels comfortable. Warming yourself up. Moving the spine, lots of nice rotation. Yeah. The hips move, the upper back move, the ankles have a little move. And bring that all the way back to your center. And we'll, if you've got a wall, walk over to a wall or a door. We're going to place the forearms down, get a little bit more rotation for the upper back. If you haven't got that, it's fine. Just stand and you can do one of these. So your hand on the forearm and bring it across. If you've got a wall or a door and you can let the left elbow go onto the wall and the hand and slide that right arm underneath and just lean in, and you can take the right ear down, or the right temple, I should say, down. The right ear probably won't go. Just a mid-back rotation. If that's too much for the neck to turn it to the left, please keep the forehead on the wall, door. So notice that's quite difficult to breathe because you've got that twist and stretch and rotation in the through the diaphragm, through the rib cage. So you want to breathe deeply into that rather than holding the breath. Even the belly gets a bit of movement here. Okay, push off the wall with the left hand. Bring the right elbow down and slide it the other way. So just unwinding yourself the other way. It might feel a bit stiff. Just breathe into that. Let the head drop, either forehead or side of the head. Okay. Lovely. Keep that breath flowing. Good. And then push off that right hand and come back to center. Just use the hands on the wall or that door from where you were. We don't have to take a full down dog because we're not quite there yet, but just bending those knees so you're not kind of massively pushed out, just bending the knees, little half down dog here. So you're not hugely far away, just broadening across the chest, broadening across the shoulder blades, and let the neck hang down in the middle. Good. And then curl the hips under and roll yourself back up to stand. Give those shoulders a little shake out, give the upper body a shake out. If you need to move it, if it feels a bit stiff, think of that xiphoid process, that little knobbly bit down from where the rib cage meets at the front, and that 10p piece. Move it forward and backwards, and maybe around in a circle one way. It's a tiny little movement. Okay, block if you've got one, cushion if you've got one, doesn't matter if you have nothing. Just helps a little proprioception when we're doing a chair pose. It just engages through the inner thigh. If you've got a, you know, if in the from many years ago you might have used one of these are also really good. These are great. I love those little balls. Use them a lot for myself. Okay, so we're going to gently come into a, we're going to do a breath practice first and then come into chair. So we're going to inhale here. And as you inhale, draw up from the inner ankle up to the inner groin. So you really get that sense of lifting rather than squeezing the block. You're lifting and engaging the insides of the legs so that you're able to engage the block. And as you exhale, we're going to settle down, the legs, sink the hips back slightly, not very far. And we're going to exhale through the mouth. We're going to go, ah. Sorry, that was quite a big one. I kind of moved, but you can do that because that's how it feels. Then do that. And then we're going to uncurl again. Ah, as you slide down. So it's just a bit of a, but letting all the air out. And then inhale, push the feet to the floor, draw up the inner thigh as you stand up. So let the mouth hang open as you do that. And obviously, if you've got people around you and you don't want to make that noise, that's absolutely fine. Just get the exhale out the mouth. And let's inhale and stand up for the last time. And this time we're going to settle down to do a chair. You're going to let the hips head back away from you. Let the arms float away. If you're feeling super strong and want to bring the arms up, please feel free. Otherwise, just keep them floated all the way back. Lovely. Lovely. Let that chin tuck in so you're feeling like you're lifting with the soft palate. And then as you exhale, push the floor away and lift back up to stand. Good. Inhale here. And as you exhale, once more, let's sink into chair pose. Good. Inhale at chair. And as you exhale, push the floor away to come back to standing. Good. Once more, inhale. And exhale. Now this time, we're going to push the floor away and we're going to bring the hands to the heart. So the thumbs are kind of almost touching the breastbone, somewhere in front. Okay, so if it's getting a little too much, come on up out of the position. But we want to gently tuck the tailbone under so the bottom is not heading away. You'll probably find that bottom's been sticking away a little bit. Want to slightly tuck it under. And take, in this position, a gentle rotation to the left, just with the upper body. Just little lift and rotation. Back to center, exhale. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotation to the other side. Inhale, center. And exhale, push the floor away. Good, lovely. Move that block. Okay, just move a little bit. Sure, it all feels great. And we're going to open the arms to the side. Good, lovely. Let's bend the elbows. Roll the shoulders down and back. Inhale here. And as you exhale, you're going to take the right elbow towards the left elbow and palm. So it's not going to meet, the palms might meet. You can rotate the head and the chest. I'm just watching you to make sure, seeing how it's going. And then inhale, exhale, open. And we're going to take it to the other side. So we're going to take a couple of these. So as you can see, we're doing quite a lot of movement through the rib cage and through the belly. Inhale, open. And obviously shoulder. Let everything move to the side as you go. You don't want to cause any stiffness, any tension. Rotate to center. Rotate. One more round to the right side, and then we've done all those rounds. Good. Roll the shoulders around, interlock the hands. Take the feet out to kind of hip distance, maybe a bit further. Okay, slightly tuck the pelvis under. You can broaden across the chest, squeeze those shoulder blades in towards each other. Good. You can lift the head if you want. Now, if you're comfortable folding forward here, soften the knees and fall forward and lift the arms. But if that's not available, just staying here with that lovely squeeze. But if that feels lovely and you love that shoulder stretch, please feel free to open and lengthen. Good. And then drop the hands to the lower back, soften the knees, curl the spine, roll yourself all the way back up to standing. Good. Give the shoulders a bit of a shake out. Okay. Lovely. Okay, so we're going to start with the balancing that we've been doing. We're going to do right leg, left arm to start. So do you remember we did this kind of lift and drawing the leg up with the hand? It doesn't have to be as high as that. It can be just hovering off the floor and then placing it down. But notice the pause between both sides. Notice that there is going to be a pause at the top and a pause at the bottom. It's that kind of readjusting. It may be a minuscule pause, but we want the brain to recognize there's a difference between the two sides. And that's where we find our moments of stillness, are in those pauses. So, you know, if the balance isn't coming easy, 6 to 8 foot in front, slide the gaze on an arch down towards the front. If you want to make that a really big lift, please do. If you want to make it a tiny, tiny lift, please do. Remember that standing leg got to engage to support you. Finding just those pockets of quietness, of stillness. So making sure that you lift that left leg, right arm one last time so that you finish on an even, if you did that, that was your second side, so that you finish on an even movement. And we're going to, so please do use something to balance with. We're going to pick up the right leg. So the left leg becomes your standing leg. Really engage that left glute. Just gently rotate the knee out to the side so the foot comes too. Soften that standing leg. We're just going to take a few little knee dips. So this is often called Shiva's dance in yoga, but it is just a little bit of working around those knee joint. So if that's not good for you, keep the toe on the floor. Maybe work it that way. Okay, and then bring that leg back to center and rotate it so that you can come into tree. Some days tree works, some days tree doesn't, but find your focus. 6 to 8 foot in front of you, slide it down to the floor. As a rule, that works. Remember to come back to the breath each time. And then slowly, when you're ready, if you want to hang out there a bit longer, and just give the feet a bit of a, hips a bit of a move around. Take the weight over to the right leg, and make sure you've got something to hold on to if you need to. Just picking up that left knee, rotate that side. So the foot isn't on the leg at all here. It's sort of slightly in front. And bend that standing knee just a couple of times. Just working gently with the muscles around the knee. So you can keep the toes on the floor if that's better. Good. And then back. And open that leg out to wherever it comes to. And obviously the hands can come wherever they want. Good. And if you're happy to stay here another breath or two, please do. Otherwise, now's your moment. Lovely. Okay, and just pause. Notice the benefits of tree breath. It can be one of the most profound postures that we take, because not only is it building strength and resilience and patience, it's also really, really calming. Okay, so we're going to take, now you can do this with your chair or your table or your sofa arm, whichever you've got in front of you as your balance, or if you're at home and you've got a block and you actually quite like folding to the floor, please use a block instead, and that block would literally be at the big toe, on the inside of the big toe. Okay, but I'm going to do it with you at a chair, but in case anybody wants to do it a bit further forward, please feel free. So we're going to do 3 on each side. So if I start, I'm going to start with my right leg because I'm facing you that way. Okay, so we're stepping back. We've done this before, but I'm just amending it slightly, adjusting it a little bit. And we're going to do that warrior 1. So if you bring yourself just into a comfortable, right leg goes back, right foot heads towards top right edge of the mat, and both knees are a bit soft. So everything's just a little bit soft. Hips are slightly tucked under, just because that's what happens when you bend the back knee. Okay, and on the inhale, we're going to exhale here. You're going to inhale here. And then you're going to exhale, straighten both legs and rise the arms. Now, again, if the shoulders have done too much, please keep them low. But warrior 1, okay, so this is, we're going to exhale and bend the front knee. So that is your warrior 1. Now, just checking it hasn't kind of headed forward. Doesn't really matter. You're not going to damage yourself. We're not moving huge amounts of pressure through it. But just, it's quite nice and stabilizing for the pelvis, for the lower back, engaging for the core, thighs, and those all important knee muscles, which we don't want to, we do want to increase strength in. We just don't want to overstretch them. Okay, so warrior 1, inhaling here. Exhale, warrior 1. Let's take the arms alongside you. And on the inhale, you're just going to lengthen the crown of the head. As you exhale with the arms beside you, you're just going to squeeze the shoulder blades together. So you kind of open the fronts of the palms of the hands to the front. And you exhale there. And you're going to inhale again. And you're going to exhale as you straighten out gently the front leg. You're just going to bring the arms around and fold yourself forward, either to the chair or to the block. And so if you're, wherever you are, you're in a pyramid pose. And so you want to draw that front hip, which is my left hip. If you're on the same leg as me, you gently want to draw that around. Now, remember, when you draw that left hip around, sometimes the weight goes onto the outside edge of the foot. see if you can plant the pad of the big toe. So the, what is it called? The balls of the big toe. So just the big knobbly bit on the main foot, just below the big toe, and also the big toe itself, obviously. So that then you really feel a little bit more building up in the hamstring. Or maybe you're feeling it in the calf. Everyone has it somewhere different. Okay, soften the hips under, bend the front knee, inhale, and exhale, uncurl to straight legs. Okay, inhale, exhale, float the arms and sink the front knee. Now keep the arms really soft here. Keep them kind of, you know, like Halloween hands. And inhaling and exhaling here in warrior one. Inhale. We're going to exhale and we're going to slide those arms. So I'm going to just swivel towards you. You're still facing the front to cactus arms. Okay. And again, keep those elbows soft, those hands kind of quite soft. Okay. And we're going to inhale with cactus arms. And we're going to exhale and squeeze the shoulder blades together so the chest lifts a little bit to the front, little bit of a back bend. And then on the next exhalation, with same thing, we're diving forwards. Let the spine lengthen, let that front leg gently lengthen. Obviously, keep a bend where you need to. And draw that left hip gently back, getting the hang of this now. Take a breath there. Now keep the knees soft where you need to. There's no need to force or push this through. So soften that front knee, uncurl. Let everything kind of hang as you lift, and you don't use the back, you're using the core, pushing down, uncurling, using the front line, zipping it all up. And pause. Right, last round on this side. So if that back heel or ankle is getting a bit tight or sore, just give it a shake out and maybe open the stance of the legs, because that'll be why you're just on a bit of a tightrope and the Achilles, the calf is a bit tight. Make sure the foot's slightly turned out. Okay, inhale here, and as you exhale, sink the front knee, arms go back up to warrior one. Inhale, warrior one. Now, this one, when we exhale, I'm going to suggest that we fold slightly forwards. Okay, now if that's too much for the arms, bring the elbows back to cactus arms or alongside you as you fold forward. Okay, but if you're quite happy, palms face each other as you gently inhale, exhale, and inhale, exhale, float it forward. All the way down for your last time at pyramid pose, where you're working with the hamstring. Folded from the hips, not from the waist. So if you had your little finger in that left hip crease, your left little finger in the hip crease, you'd find the space, your little finger would start to get squeezed because you were working from the hip crease. Good. On the next exhale, soften and float yourself. Push the floor away to rise all the way back up. Step that back foot forward. Give it a shake out. It's possibly feeling a bit tight. I'm going to switch sides because, or turn around so that I can see you. So turn my back. And then that left foot is going back, and you've headed back to warrior. Well, to walk, we're going to take that warrior one. That exhale, sink and float. Soft arms. Good. Inhale here. Exhale here. Let's float the arms alongside you. Inhale. And exhale, let's squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other so that the chest slightly pops up at the front there. And on the next exhale, curl yourself forward and down. Now you're drawing that right hip backwards. If you had your right little finger into your hip crease, you would be squeezing it. So check what the foot is doing. Have you rolled onto the outside edge? Is it particularly tight at the back of the knee? If so, bend the knee slightly more. Is the calf suffering, or is it in the hamstrings? Or is it both? Okay.
Soften the front knee. Exhale, unwind. Straight front leg. Inhale. And let's exhale, warrior one. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, let's take cactus arms. Inhale, cactus arms, soft arms. And exhale, squeeze the shoulders. So you're kind of drawing the shoulder blades down and towards each other. Lift the chest up the front, little back bend. And on the next exhale, round it out and head for your fold to pyramid pose. Good. Inhaling and exhaling. Draw that right hip back, flatten out the lower back. And on the next exhale, soften, that's it, and unwind. Last round. Inhale, exhale, float the arms to warrior one. Soften the front knee. Good. So if you're happy to leave the arms and lengthen them and just reach forward a bit, let's do that. Otherwise, bring them either to cactus or the first one, okay? On the next exhale, lengthen slightly forwards and reach with the arms so you're reaching out of the hips. Inhale here. And on the next exhale, lower yourself forward and gently work through that right hip, leg, and the breath. Great. Inhale, exhale. And when you're ready, next exhale, let's curl it all the way back. And up to standing, super. And step the back leg forward. Give it a shake out. Lovely. If you've got a block and you want to use the block, we're just going to do some heel raises. We'll just do 5, depending on what you can do. 5. If you're happy doing them, use a wall as well with your hands. That's kind of a nice one. We'll either do 10 on each side or 5 on each side, depending on what you can do, or 20 together if you know one ankle is particularly not comfortable. And just go as slow or as fast as you like. The faster you go, the more it's going to build up and be quite strong in your heel. So I just would tuck one ankle behind and just do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then I'd switch. And you can feel it. If you want to do another 10 on each side, if you're going a bit faster than me, feel free. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What you'll find is if you do up to like about 20, 25, that's when you really start to feel it build up. But that's, you can probably already feel it in the calf. And that's good if you were feeling it was a bit tight in the calf. It's just good to move them. Okay, so just because you've got your tight calves doesn't mean you should be endlessly stretching them. You need that strength in order to get the flexibility. You know, everyone has a different level of tightness to each other. Okay, good. So we're going to head towards seated again in a sec. In fact, now we're going to head towards seated. We're going to take some, because time is running away with me as always. We're going to take a few, a roll forward. And actually, if you want to do your forward bend standing, actually everyone's sat, that's fine. Let's roll it in. We're going to take a forward bend and we're going to take a twist. So I like to squish a cushion or a blanket into my belly and then fold myself over the top. If you actually just quite like reaching out of the hips, I feel the cushion, everyone fall forward, lovely. I just feel that cushion gives you that little more lift and lengthen so that it's not all coming from the sort of middle back, or lower back, which can get a bit sore. This is really coming out of the hips when you've got a bit of lift there. Now, if you're super pro at this and you really like it, you can turn the toes upwards. You can head the feet out a little bit from you and turn the toes up. And that just gives those calves, the hamstrings, a little bit more something. You could also pick those legs up to something and gives them a lift so that the legs get a bit more able to stretch out. You can hang on to the legs, the toes. Now, if the head and neck are hanging and you don't like that, use the hands, make fists so that forehead pops on to the fists. What we don't want to do is overstrain the neck at all in this. Lovely, walk those hands back up the legs. Settle yourself just for a moment. We're going to take a little twist. So it's up to you if you want to cross the left leg over the top. That does create a bit more of a turn. So you may want to just keep the legs where they are. You could use a block or your blanket or your cushion between the legs just to set the pelvis a bit more, or that lovely ball. That can be really nice as well. We're going to take the left arm behind you and the right arm just to the front or the side of that left leg. Now let's work with the shoulder, which open the chest first, back chest first, and then turn the face. So slide the nose along the horizon. And notice how that is a twist. That just is. And it's a really nice twist that avoids that kind of wrench around. And here is where you then can start to feel it. I have to say, does anyone else get that tight bit between the shoulder blades or around the shoulder blades sometimes when the shoulders, the neck just kind of go, and you've got that really, really tight bit. This is a really great way of giving that area a squeeze, but you can only get it, the half spinal twist won't normally give that to you unless you move it with the shoulder open first and then the nose following it, and you get that specific squeeze. It just brings a bit of blood flow back to the, or rather it restricts the blood flow so the blood comes rushing back in and hopefully relieves everything. Whereas you gently now, inhale, exhale, bring everything around to the front. Get a bit of a squeeze off. And then the other arm goes behind, lift up. So you're coming up and out of the pelvis, open that back shoulder, and then follow the nose. Squeeze it around. And notice the breath through the rib cage and the diaphragm. It's a little bit contained here because we've got that squeeze and twist. And so when you release and you come back to center, notice how you feel all the way around and back when you're ready. Now we're going to come back to those. So give yourself a blanket. We're just going to take a bit of breath and we're going to come back to those little movements you were doing at the start. So you can let the back soften, ease off anything that, well, we're going to ease off everything if it feels a bit tight, so don't worry about that. We're going to take, remember the tailbone, think about 12 o'clock as you tuck the tailbone underneath you, and 6 o'clock is behind you. So 10 pp's, maximum 50 pp's. Take that tailbone. I have to sit away from the back of the chair because my chair goes back, so I find that hard. Take that tailbone forward and back 12 to 6. And visualizing that movement over a 10 pp's. Should we bring the hands into this? Opening and closing, touching the hands to a movement. Touching a breath, movement.
And then back to center and maybe find your 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We didn't do this at the start. So how's this feeling now to move the lower back around a little bit? So 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 12 to center. So notice how the tailbone really doesn't move very much when you take it in a circle. And we're going to try it with this xiphoid process, this place just below where the rib cage meets. So think about that. 6 o'clock's behind you, 12 o'clock's in front of you. 10 pp's. Attach the breath. Likewise, you can also unattach the breath and shift it the other way. We're going to take it around in a circle when you next hit 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let me go back the other way. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12. Center. Just notice how that feels. And then the soft palate. Just slightly bringing it forward so it feels like it's gone in front of the eyes and you can't see your knees. And then lifting it up and gently rocking it back. That's not a throwing of the head back, it's just a movement forward and back, but lifted from the soft palate. Explore that movement if it starts to want to move better. But keep that lift in the soft palate, right at the top of the spine. Can you take that movement now? So we're just exploring these movements a little bit more forward, so almost like a cat back. So it comes down the spine, just to the shoulder blades perhaps, and then it lifts, but you're leading once more with the soft palate. Just that little rounded cat upper back movement. It's not going all the way into the lower back. So there's not a huge amount of neck movement unless you want there to be. And let's bring that gently back to center and take it up to the crown of the head. And let's just take the crown of the head around in circles. 12 o'clock at the front, 6 o'clock at the back, and taking it to 12 o'clock. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Should have mentioned it. Perhaps you've already just embedded that. Okay, so settle. Let's take another breath and then I'll shut up. I'm going to come to your gentle Ujjayi breath. So after all that lovely rotational, lots of movement, in lots of different places. It's nice to come back to feeling the expansion in the rib cage. So we're going to come to your what we call Ujjayi breath, the ocean breath, but sometimes we call the ocean breath the one that's the gold thread breath. It can be called ocean. The ocean breath is the one, Ujjayi, where we fog up a mirror and we draw the fog back off. So we start with drawing the fog off with our nostrils. So imagine you're in a really misty bath, you just had a really hot bath shower, and you're going to use your nostrils to draw the fog off the mirror. So it's a really deep inhalation, which you can feel over the soft palate. You can feel the soft palate vibrating, and it makes a little noise like the sound you'd hear inside a seashell or the sound of a tide. And then as you exhale, if you're not used to this breath, exhale through the mouth, and it'll be like you're fogging up a mirror, but a long fog. If you're using your nostrils, again, it's a long fog through the nostrils. So it's not a. So notice, carry on with that practice. You just explore it. Don't worry if it's not coming. If you haven't got it right, ask me later on if you want me to talk it through at a separate time or at the end of class. But it's a really great breath, this. It's very calming. You don't have to make it with a lot of noise, or you can make it with a lot of noise. The noise is often used in yoga as a tool to bring you back to the present. So lots of yogis will use this breath during their practice the whole way through. It's also really good because obviously, you've probably noticed, you can't shorten this breath. It just carries on through to its natural extension and natural inhalation that goes all the way in. And the more you practice this one, the more you can feel the ribs, the lungs expanding. You might feel the belly moving a bit, like you're filling up a balloon. It's really easy to make a snorting noise, so don't worry about that. That's fun. But I can make it really loud. I don't know if you can hear me through this headpiece. I find it really hard to make that noise. But it's a really great way, as I say, of extending the breath and working with that very full breath. You can almost do it in the three parts. You can feel it moving from the top of the chest into the bottom of the rib cage, into the belly. You can feel that whole front, back, sides of the rib cage as the lungs fully expand. And then if you can make that exhale just a bit longer, you can really squeeze out much air as possible so that you're able to take a really full breath. And then you know that you've at least spent a few breaths today using the whole of the lung all the way down. So I'd really recommend a little practice of that at some point. And I'm super sorry we're going over time. We're just going to take a short shavasana. So you can drop the breath or you can carry it on. You might find the breath just quite naturally carries on in a sort of like quieter. Maybe you can access that just gently sinking down, letting everything relax, feel like the skin is melting off the bone. Soft all the way down. Climbing into a warm velvet midnight blue hammock. And just feel that little rock of the breath, allowing yourself to sink really, really deep. Really effective practice, just dropping into full relaxation. Just 30 seconds or more. Bring on a deep sense of peace, relaxation, renewal. Very slowly deepen breath again. Climbing out of that lovely warm hammock or staying there, as the case may be. But knowing it's always there for you to climb back into for half a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is. Bring yourself back into the world, very slowly allowing your gaze to refocus. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the class. I'm going to come and switch the recording off